Hey, how's it going? This is Joe and Tell, and today we're going to be taking a look at the SVS Ultra Bookshelf. A lot of you guys were asking me about the SVS Ultra after I reviewed the SVS Prime Bookshelves. Luckily, a good friend of mine, Chana, aka Techno Dad, check out his channel here. He had some, and so he said, hey, you want to check them out? I'll bring them by. And so he did, and I was able to take a listen to them and get a chance to review them for you guys. Let's go over some of the differences first. So go back to my SVS Prime review Transformers and see what I had to say about those. And I think what my main gripe with those was that they sounded clear, all that was good, except I felt like they lacked a little bit of bass. And from some of the demos, some of the responses from you guys also agreed that they probably sound better with a sub, and luckily SVS makes subs. This one is a little bit different in that the enclosure is larger, first of all. This one is an ash finish as opposed to the other one that was a gloss finish. And the cone material on the woofer is different. It seems to be some kind of Kevlar type of material, woven glass fiber, something like that. And the tweeter seems to me to be the same, an aluminum dome tweeter. And that's one of the things that I liked about the original Prime Bookshelf. The other ones only had the bevel on the side. These have an extra bevel on the bottom. Nice extra touch there. On the back, you'll notice that this also has dual binding posts in case you are the type that likes to buy wire or buy amp your speakers. I'm not really into that. Another difference is that these you can also get in a white finish, which I think look pretty cool. And of course, the biggest difference, these are twice the price. As far as the sound, just right off the bat, they have more bass. And so that kind of fixes the other issue where the other one didn't have as much bass as I had wanted. And in return, what that does is that it is a more balanced speaker. So the other one had very sharp, clear highs. And for some people that might be fatiguing. Well, let me just say that these sound more balanced compared to the other one because the bass matches the treble response. So with that larger enclosure, I think what they were going for was a lower tuning. And that's the one thing that you'll notice from the frequency response charts. You'll notice that these do hit lower than the primes. The best way I can describe it is that these sound to me like studio monitors, but for a living room situation. Whereas I don't usually recommend studio monitors for a living room just because they're really designed for near field use. These kind of give me that same feeling where it sounds very accurate. If there's problems with a track, you'll hear it on these speakers. It's very revealing, very detailed. And I think they really lend themselves to being very good for home theater use because of that flat frequency response. Now, if you want to change it up because maybe you don't like highs that are so bright, well, you can always trim that. And it's always better to trim rather than to boost. How do these compare to something like the ELAC Unify UB5s? Well, I would say that the Unify UB5s are more suited for stereo listening, so more for music, and they do have those rolled off highs that you'd expect from ELAC because that's kind of their sound signature from what I've seen. Yeah, these are just a little bit more detailed. As far as bass, it's hard to tell the difference. They're pretty close, but I would say that the Unifys seem to have slightly more bass. I mean, very slightly. These Ultras definitely play louder than the Unify UB5. So that's the main thing, is if you're going to be using them for a home theater, you're going to want them to play loud, and these can play much louder without distorting. Compared to the Unify UB5s, these image very well. I feel like the Unifys are more forgiving, so they have a wider sweet spot. But these are very detailed. You can really tell where things are. And even for 2-channel listening, which you can definitely use these for, I think they're really good. They're actually pretty fun to listen to. If I were to knock it on something, what I did notice is there is a slight dip around 80 Hertz. And you can see it here. You can see a graph of it without any smoothing. And you can see that there is a dip around 80 Hertz. And I thought it might have been my room and how it was interacting. But I started moving it around and I noticed that there was just a dip there. If I were to guess, that might be because that's where you typically cross over a speaker to a subwoofer. And again, SVS makes subwoofers, and I really do think that this is optimized to be used with a subwoofer in a home theater setup. And this goes back to the tuning. I think that these were tuned with home theater in mind, And so what they didn't want is they didn't want to sacrifice low frequency extension for distortion, right? So even though a speaker could play low, it doesn't mean that it can play loud. So that's kind of the trade-off. So these can play loud, and if you want to play low, well, they have subs for that. The other thing I would say about these is, unlike the Unify UB5s, these are 8 ohms, so they should work on pretty much any receiver. Unifys are 4 ohms, so they're pretty picky. The sensitivity on these isn't as high as I would expect, but they do seem more efficient than they claim. So really, who is this for? I would say that these are good if you're gonna play it for a home theater, as I've said, but it'll also work well in a 2-channel situation. And I think it would be superior to the primes if you're going to use it in that situation. And that's the main difference. If you want to spend twice as much, it will probably be because you want this for dual purpose. You want to be able to use it for your home theater and for your stereo. Now, if you have some SVS subs or any decent subs, you can save yourself some money and get the primes because, you know, the main advantage of these is actually the low frequency response. And for the most part, subwoofers would take over that range anyway. So I'm going to have to put these on the speaker leaderboard to see how they place. But just right now, I can tell you it's going to be very tough because I would say for home theater use, these are superior to the Unify UB5s. In 2-channel use, I would say because the Unifys don't have that hole at 80 Hertz, I think that I would prefer them in 2-channel use, but it's really tough. It's really tough. This is a tough one. Yeah, we'll have to see. All right, so we're here at the speaker leaderboard, and I have to rate these SVS Ultra bookshelves. Let's see. So first of all, best bookshelf. Oh man, bookshelf speaker. We have the SVS Prime Bookshelf here. You got the Wharfdale Diamond 11.1 and the ELAC UB5. I'm going to have to put them above the ELACs on the best bookshelf. Hate to do it, but there it is. The ELACs were on top for a long while, but these are considerably more expensive, so it's understandable. But yeah, they play louder, they play clearer when they're played louder, and so I'll have to put them there. Let's see here. Best under $1,000. This is going to be pretty easy. Currently, it's the SVS Prime Bookshelf. The Ultra Bookshelf is going to take the top spot because it has more bass and it still has the same top-end response. Very clear. Boom. And then last, I'm going to have to go over here to best overall sound. And they outperformed the UB5s in clarity and how they performed for home theater, and they still did a good job of performing for 2-channel audio. This is tough because if it's for 2-channel, I might prefer the UB5s over the SVS, but for home theater, just overall, I would have to go with the SVS. Yeah, just overall, I'm going to put them here on top. And my reason being that you can always add a sub to these SVS and it'll make them awesome. Right? If I added a sub to the ELAC UB5, the UB5s are awesome by themselves, right? I think by themselves, they would compete very closely with the SVS. But if I were to add a sub to the UB5s, it doesn't necessarily mean that I could play them that much louder, because I think there is a restriction going on, something to do with the mid-range. They seem to not want to play too loud. So there you have it, the new top dog, the SVS Ultra Bookshelf. So there you have it. The Unifys were on top for a very long time, and a lot of you guys were saying that these are going to topple those, and they did. It was really close, and it comes with some caveats, which is you just have to know what these are going to be used for. But overall, I would have to say that it is a superior speaker, but at nearly twice the cost. So there you have it. Those are the SVS Ultra Bookshelves. And I'll leave a link to buy them on their website or on Amazon. I'm also going to leave some sound demos so you can compare them with the SVS Prime Bookshelves. See what you guys think. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos. And if you want to listen to my podcast, it's at patreon.com/JoeAndTell. Anyway, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.
In a shadow drew again. You sit alone, alone, only silence knows your name. Elaine, Elaine, Elaine. Things round you are nice and plain and full of you, Elaine. But you